Some chapters I'll read more than others. I can say that when I get to philosophy, I'm going to read a lot more in that chapter, and that'll be after the break. Aeschylus describes Prometheus as the patron of the whole human race. Carigné describes him as the immortal prototype of man. And Tarnas tells us that in the ancient mysteries, man had been symbolized as this great mythic figure. Like Adam, Heracles, and Christ, the main characters in this dissertation, Prometheus is a deity with which to identify. With this foundational frame in mind, we should dive deeper into the details of his story with an eye open to its commentary on the condition of human life and its mortal narrative. As we become increasingly immersed in this myth, we will find the classical benefactor of humanity to be more than a personification of human life. We will find that he has long served as a beacon for human spirit, such spirit as is required for creating art, fighting for freedom, pursuing new ideas, and stomaching the consequences of conscientious acts. He fought for Olympian order, then against Zeus' tyranny. When Aeschylus wrote Prometheus Bound, it was to Athenians who remembered the overthrow of their last tyrant and then the establishment of democracy, the two freedom wars against Persian tyranny. And when Lord Byron, Percy Shelley, and Mary Shelley were writing about the figure of Prometheus, Frankenstein subtitled Modern Day Prometheus. So when Percy and Mary and Lord Byron, when they were writing about the figure of Prometheus, it was to an audience that remembered the revolution of science from religious repression, as well as the French and American democratic revolutions against power-abusing monarchs. And the spirit of Prometheus is that rebellious insistence on the right to personal freedom, the desire to not be beneath or limited by the will of another. Fundamentally, this is the right to live, but is also the right to create, to learn, and, in Percy Shelley's Prometheus Unbound, to love. As we will see, Prometheus is the man at the sunrise, the bringer of the fire, the spark, the exuberant creative force, that which brings inner light to outer expression, and the unwavering defender of our human right to this nature. We will find that as a Titan, he is more raw than the Olympians. But as his raw qualities include intelligence and ingenuity, his abilities to improve and refine are limitless. He is the opposite of static. In fact, as Tarnas describes it, progress is a Promethean enterprise. When Zeus chains him to stone, it is not only to punish his disobedience, but also to neutralize him. Because his rebellious nature and insistence on freedom, innovation, and the innovative spirit pose great threats to any regime that rules over the status quo. Change can require defiance and become rebellion, which many governments have historically avoided with exile and violence. When Zeus chains Prometheus, the tyrant chains the rebel, to the mountainside, we might also see Karl Marx being exiled. We might also see the Nazis driving artists from their borders. Or we might even see the Soviet Party banning We, which is a Prometheus Award-winning novel by Yevgeny Zamyatin. And I want to make this point. With the Brave New World in 1984, and by the way, you guys know Brave New World, probably some of it inspired on this very land, with Aldous Huxley's dystopian realities provide perfect examples of the ultimate Promethean nightmares, in which creativity, love, individuality, freedom, invention, and knowledge are completely denied by tyrannical leadership. So, now let me tell you the story of Prometheus. So, Prometheus' story begins when he creates humans. He makes humans out of clay. He really makes men out of clay, and later Hephaestus will make women. After he makes humans from clay, he comes to realize that the Titans ruling the world is a little bit tough for humans. I mean, titanic forces are both earthquakes and volcanoes, but they're also lust and greed and over-intense emotions. Neither of those types of titanic intensities are conducive to the human harmony that's required, the balance and stasis that's required for human life, especially for civilization as we know it. So he knows that the future means that the Titans have to fall, and he sees that Zeus is going to be the one leading the Olympians into this future. And so he sides with Zeus. He becomes Zeus's teacher. He is Zeus's mentor. He is the mentor of Zeus. And he is the one who shows them how to trap the Titans in the underworld. So after he shows Zeus how to trap the Titans in the underworld, Zeus rises to power. Zeus has taught him all kinds of stuff. And by the way, one of Prometheus, Prometheus, is related to the Metis, the mother Metis. The way Zeus got his wisdom is by eating. Metis, wisdom. And then, of course, it's from that impregnation that Athena comes out of the head, is the daughter of Metis. But anyway, so Zeus kind of gets his Promethean wisdom, doesn't need Prometheus anymore, and so he is now ready to wipe out everything on the earth, start over fresh. We're going to have a flood, and Zeus is going to have his way. Mother Earth thinks this is garbage. Everybody in creation knows that Zeus is just being an egomaniacal ass, and he's going to start everything over in his way. Well, Prometheus, ever the rebel, as he rebelled against the Titans, and now he's going to rebel against the same people that he rebelled with. Always the rebel against the people that are against human freedom and human right to live. So he tells his progeny, Deucalion and Pyrrha, to hide in a trunk or an ark, and this is how they survive the flood. Many of you are already wondering if there's a relation to the flood of Noah. Noah's son, his name is Japheth. Prometheus' father, his name is Iapetus. Those are definitely etymologically related. So keep that. So after the flood, Deucalion and Pyrrha repopulate the earth by throwing stones over their shoulders, and these stones become humans. And then everything seems to be going okay until finally there's a rift between the gods and men. They're having a feast at Macon. This is the name of the place. And to settle the rift, Prometheus comes up with this idea of the burnt offering. He cuts an oxen, splits it in two, and he takes all the... The problem is that the gods kind of want the good stuff. And if they get the good stuff, humans are not going to have anything to eat. It's going to be a big problem. Well, Prometheus, again, he's the savior of humanity. He's the progenitor. He's the benefactor. He's not going to have that, so he tries to trick Zeus. He tries to put all the bones and the stuff you don't want in the fat, which is delicious. And then over here, he puts all the meat and all the stuff humans can live on in a stomach, which is apparently the most disgusting part of the animal. So, Zeus is not fooled, but keep this in mind. Pretty on the outside, awful on the inside. Awful on the outside, pretty on the inside. That's a motif, a symmetry that will come back later with Pandora. So Zeus is not fooled, yet he takes the bait anyway for some reason. Probably to have a good excuse to punish humans and Prometheus, whatever it is. He even makes up some rumor about Prometheus going after Athena. Anyway, Zeus takes the bait and is very unhappy about it. He uses this as an excuse to steal fire back from humans. So now humans are without fire, and they're kind of hopeless. And that's a good word to use. So eventually, Prometheus, of course, this is the famous thing, he steals back the fire. And yes, it is retrieving a fire that was already taken from them. He didn't invent fire, he stole it back. And maybe he took it from the sun, maybe he took it from the hearth, maybe he took it from Ganymede. There are many versions. Maybe Athena helped him. Maybe he took it from Hephaestus' forge. Maybe he took it from the volcano that in the place where Hephaestus lives. He took the fire. And this fire is not just the fire, it's the fire of knowledge, and it's very specifically also the fire of metallurgy. So he's the one who teaches humans all the crafts and all the abilities, language included. He teaches us everything we need for civilization. Except for humility, that's another story. It's a shame, sorry. It's Hermes that teaches us shame, otherwise we'd all be screwed. But otherwise, Prometheus gives us it all, and he brags about it. He's very proud. Zeus is not so happy about it, and this is a direct defiance to a tyrant's orders, and you can imagine what happens. Of course, he sends Hephaestus, Prometheus' own protege. He sends Hephaestus to go chain Prometheus to the stone. And he sends him to the eastern sunrise, to the edge of the world, the tallest mountain in Europe, Mount Elbrus, a dormant volcano. And of course, restraining the fire is also like the dormant volcano closing over the fire. And Prometheus Unbound also brings out the imagery of the exploding volcano, Mount Elbrus. Anyway, so while he's chaining him to stone, chaining him at the edge of the world. Now notice that it is the sunrise, the place where fire comes from. He is the fire bringer, the sunrise. And his brother, Atlas, who he fought, Atlas took the Titan side. He was the general of the Titans against Zeus. And so Atlas is there at the sunset, and he's holding up the heavens at the sunset. So these are two brothers, sunrise, sunset. And in one level, they are simply personifications of sunrise and sunset. Of course, on many other levels, they're far richer. So Prometheus is chained. That means he can't help humans. So Zeus now goes to his brother Epimetheus, whose name means hindsight. Prometheus means foresight. Think about foresight, technology, etc. So Prometheus had warned Epimetheus, don't take anything from Zeus. Don't take any of his gifts. He's a tricky fella. And so anyway, Zeus talks Hephaestus into making Pandora. Now Pandora is the first objectified woman. Literally made by a man, for a man, out of matter. She is an object. She's beautiful outside. All the gods give her gifts. She is not to be seen. She is, by Hesiod, who is a misogynist, she is positioned as the first woman. But we should be real clear that Prometheus had a happy wife, that Athena was a really important friend of his. They worked together. So it was not, so Prometheus, the problem is not misogyny here, even though Hesiod pushes it that far. Pandora is not just the first woman, and she may not, it's hard, I don't even want to call her the first woman because of where that takes us. She is a specific woman. She is a trap. She's a curse. She's beautiful on the outside, just like that glistening fat, and she's treacherous on the inside, just like what was hidden in the fat. So Zeus is playing the trick back on Prometheus. Pandora, after she marries Epimetheus, eventually they will have, she will open Pandora's box. Well, originally it was Pandora's jar, mistranslated centuries ago. And from that box comes all the despair and all the plagues and all the bad things that can happen to humanity. Everything except hope. Hope dangles. This image you might see as, well, first let me say, the woman, especially the wife, especially the mother, in ancient Greece, was highly associated with the vessel. You see images of the woman, the breasts on a vessel, literally, and stuff like this. So Pandora's jar has been many times has been interpreted as her own body. And Hope is the child that she gives birth to. And so you can see that Hope dangling on the body of the mother by the umbilical cord is mimetic with Prometheus chained to stone. The chain is his umbilical cord to the stone, just like the baby umbilical cord to the mother. Stone, mother, why would those be similar? Turns out, in Latin, for example, the word for mother and matter is the same, mater, M-A-T-E-R. And you see it in Greek tradition with Demeter, same word. So Gaia, the mother, the earth. Pandora, the personification of Gaia, the human version. So, and unfortunately the negative version. So the mother was very associated with matter. So the chaining of Prometheus to stone is very much like the child, the Hope, being chained to the mother. So, of course, there's nothing Prometheus can do, and now humans are entering into a phase of life and death, of bearing children. They have to work for food. The golden age is over, and this is a big part of the Hesiod myth. The golden age is over. Humans have got to work. They're living in a wasteland. They got to have children. It hurts. And the children make it even harder for the parents.
You noticed. I
noticed. So, but it's even worse if you don't have children, is what they say. So, double curse. You're totally in a rut. And Prometheus can't do anything. He's chained to stone. And so Hermes goes to Prometheus to rub it in a little bit. And Prometheus, he's a bitter guy about this. And he's like, look at what's been done to Titan. How could a god do this to another god, etc., etc. And what he eventually happens, he lets slip that he knows the prophecy of Zeus' downfall. Of course, Zeus is like, well, you know, what is it? And he sends Hermes to do everything he can to get it out of him. Prometheus is willing to take all the punishment he needs to take to keep humanity safe. That's Prometheus. He will suffer. He will be the first person to fight for us and to suffer for us. That's what he represents. And so he doesn't tell, but Io comes along. Io was raped by Zeus. She has horns. She was associated with the cow and the moon. And so is the cycle of 14. And it's said that in 14 cycles and 14 generations, he tells her that she will have a child. His name will be Hercules, and he will set Prometheus free. And so we're going to switch over to that story now.